Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. Well, if I can get the slide to advance. 1 second. There we go. Have a roll call. Councilmember Apostoli.
Here.
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Present.
Vice President Treston.
Here.
President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of Acting City Manager Ron Walsh and Corporation Counsel Dennis Cohen. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
Councilwoman McGinnis, would you lead us?
I knew it was coming. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone, good evening. Welcome to the first meeting of October. And we've got a little nice weather, so I hope everybody's taking advantage of it. And we'll get going, and we'll start with the city manager report.
Good evening, everybody. I wanted to take the time to acknowledge the city staff. Last Friday was, I think, the most rain we have ever received in a 3-hour period in recorded history, I believe. We received some 8 inches of rain in 3 hours, and the entire county of Nassau was underwater. The state declared a state of emergency. We actually declared a state of emergency to be prepared for any eventuality that might actually take place. And I would be remiss if I didn't go through and publicly thank all of our city workers. There's some outstanding work done by the police and fire department. We had members actually come in who had already left for the day. They came back to actually respond. The fire department was running around the city, you know, responding to smoke fires, responding to people stuck in their cars. And, you know, we had a little scare at one of our nursing homes or old age homes or golden age homes, as we now refer to them. That was handled very, very, very quickly. Our sanitation department put men out to actually help. Our city garage had over 2 feet of water that inundated the city garage. They were able to save all the equipment. We very quickly moved our buses and equipment out of the way, so there was no, hopefully no vehicle loss. We had leaks just about in every room of every building that we had. We had offices that were destroyed because of the rain. Our wastewater treatment plant did an absolutely outstanding job keeping themselves, you know, from being overloaded. You know, they were able to put extra pumps in service, and they really did a fantastic job. The city, if any of you have signed up for our robocalls, received 2 electronic voices and 1 of me asking people to do certain actions, and it really, the city came through. Our beach maintenance, street maintenance really came through. Even the people in the city hall here, you know, our corporation counsel very quickly wrote up an emergency order here. We had other lawyers stay. ENA and purchasing stayed back. We had, you know, just in case we needed to take any emergency actions. Our OEM stood up very quickly with Lieutenant Corbett. Dave Frazier was up there. We had members of the building department upstairs. So in an event that really wasn't supposed to be, other than very heavy rains and you know, the county didn't even activate their OEM until it all started. We activated ours, and we came through really well. So I'm very proud of the way the city and the city workers responded, and it's a testament to all of them. So my hat is off and to them. So thank you all for that. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, as I do when a question is asked at a prior meeting that needed a little bit more look into, was a question that was raised by Denise Ford with regard to our Special Victims Squad. And I want to point out to the city that the types of cases that Ms. Ford was referring to and that the Special Victims Squad deals with they're some of the most sensitive and most difficult cases for a police department to handle because of the nature of the types of events that take place there. The Long Beach Police Department since its inception, over 100 years, has been the only police department in the county that actually has a full-service detective squad. Our detective squad handles all felonies. We do joint investigations for homicides, and every other felony case is handled here in Long Beach, and we have a fantastic rate of clearance and of working with people. So the question was asked, do we have a special victims trained detective here in Long Beach? And we do. As a matter of fact, the reason why I wasn't highly specific at last meeting about the type of training was because I don't know the training of every single officer in the Long Beach Police Department, and I wanted to make sure that I spoke accurately when I gave the information. Our detective has more training than the typical Special Victims Squad detective has over at the county. And as part of our ever-increasing trying to make sure that we have the right services here, we've also identified additional training that we'll be sending other detectives to deal with minor and adolescent victims of crime, including sex crimes and the most sensitive types of crimes that happen, that surround our most vulnerable population. So, notwithstanding all of that, I want to make sure that everyone in this city knows that our investigations are done in coordination, cooperation with the county. We call on their resources when we need it. They have other resources and things that we don't have. We have a very low percentage of these types of cases that come in. When they do, they go to special trained detectives, and we have supervisors who overlook these cases that have also received specialized training, and I have the utmost confidence that our cases are handled fully and that they are investigated fully. So I just wanted to let the public know that. Thank you. That concludes the city manager's report.
All right, Councilwoman Treston, I think you had something.
Stand by. Can you hear me okay? So I also just want to thank the city workforce for their extreme dedication to our city on Friday. As residents, it would be your opportunity to look at your deck page on your flood insurance, and please make sure that you are getting the CRS discount, that everyone that is using the National Flood Insurance Policy through FEMA, you get 15% off, and that's an average between $300 and $600 per policy. If you're utilizing it through your mortgage, make sure your bank knows where you live. And if you are using it through an agent that is outside of Long Beach, make sure that they know where you live in Long Beach, you are entitled to your 15% discount. The city has worked very, very hard to ensure that we are entitled to that. So make sure you look at your paperwork and get it done. And you should be looking at your paperwork and make that happen. I also want to note that tomorrow, October 4th, your cell phone, your TV, your radio is going to go buzzy, 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 for lack of a better word, from FEMA, because it is the Federal Communications Commission is going to conduct a nationwide test of the emergency alert system. If you are familiar with that, you're in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and your TV goes off with that sound, that's what's going to happen. So no alarm, it is only a test. Thank you, Mr. Bendo.
Okay. And let's move on to the agenda.
Item 1 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase various sized trash bags from the lowest responsible bidders. I believe we have an amendment on this item.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay. In the paragraph beginning with Interboro Packaging Corp., if you could please modify the first sentence to read Interboro Package. Is this correct?
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, you can read
Okay.
it. Thanks. That would be even better.
Okay. So we're going to modify the ending of the resolve clause with the vendor information to read Interboro Packaging Corp., 114 Bracken Road, Montgomery, New York, 12549, to purchase the following: 30 by 36 2 ml black bags, 40 by 48 3 ml black bags, and 33 by 42 ml clear bags as needed. And Imperial Bag and Paper Company, 225 Route 1 and 9, South Jersey City, New Jersey, 07306, to purchase the following: 40 by 48 3 ml clear bags as needed. And Unipack, 88 Cooper Avenue, West Long Branch, New Jersey, 07764, to purchase the following: 24 by 33 6 micron clear bags as needed.
So moved.
Second.
So,
You have to
you
vote.
got to vote, I'm sorry.
Hang on one second. And you seconded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, terrific. Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
So these are, as is written, these are the bags that we use throughout the city throughout the year. The contract was awarded to on 5 separate lines, 5 separate different bag sizes, each one at the lowest bid for the bags as indicated in the backup documentation.
Just one question. Do the bags come with warranties? I'm asking for a friend.
How long do they last?
They're guaranteed to not have holes in them. And they're also, just for the record, we actually went through and we actually measured the thickness with a micrometer of each bag that came in to ensure that the city was actually getting what we ordered for the very first time.
Each bag indication?
Yeah, we actually did. You can talk to Joe Lupo. He knows more about garbage bags now than he ever thought he would.
All right. Any questions? Okay. Of course.
Any questions?
Of course.
Okay. Now, I'm sure everybody who looked at the backup documentation can see that a 30 by 36, 2 mil black bag, it costs $12.34 for 100 in a case. And a 40 by 48, 3 mil, and I always love 3 mil because sticks don't poke out of it as much and it doesn't break as quick, are $21.74 for 500 in a case. So my question would be, why can't we use the bigger bags in the smaller trash thing? That, yes, they're 10 inches bigger on one end, and deep, nobody really cares deep because that's on the bottom, but, you know, we're paying 5 times as much for the other ones. Well, we're paying for a case of $560, I'm sorry, 3 times as much. So I'm just wondering why we can't use the bigger bags in the smaller containers. And I'm not sure who to ask. Usually I'd ask Joe Fabrizio, but
I don't think Joe's a bag expert or an expert on what the bags are, but do you happen to know?
Well, they told us the clear bag, you can't,
Right.
you have
Clear,
to use
it's not
clear
clear.
bags for recycling.
So
right, these are black. Both of these are black, John.
Right. So these are the bags that have been used and honed down over the time of the operation of the city. The question that you're asking is not one that I asked of the staff as to why we don't just use a much larger bag in a smaller container, and it wasn't asked.
Please.
Okay.
I will ask them, though, if there's a possibility to use the larger bags instead of the 30-inch bags and not order those larger bags in such a large quantity, if they can accommodate that. That's a question I will ask them to do. But I don't want to take away the smaller bags if there's a specific purposeful reason that they have it in a city of our size, and I don't know how every garbage bag is used.
Right, I
think
just,
if, Mr. Lester,
Yes.
perhaps you should take a tour of where the garbage bags go, and you'll have your answer, because if you put, I can't believe we're discussing this, but if you put a large garbage bag into a smaller receptacle with it overflowing, have you ever, it gets messy.
let me tell you, Liz, all the time when I run out of the white bags in my kitchen,
This
I
is not
use
your
the big
kitchen.
black ones.
Actually do that.
That's, yeah, and I think a lot of other people do that too. And this is 3 times the price. So you know how I am with the pennies.
I know how
Okay,
you are with
and
the
I
pennies,
just
but
don't
think
understand.
in the
Why
long
would-
term, you would be spending more money to
Why?
clean up.
Why? You just put the edge down.
It's
It's
not,
10 inches bigger. It shouldn't make a difference. The other
They should
question,
be able to answer that.
Well, like I said, I don't know if there's a specific receptacle that requires this because I don't know the answer
Yeah.
to the question.
the other question is, on number 5, the Micron, the clear bags,
Yeah,
the
that's-
24 by 33. Those are not recycling bags, are they? It's pretty small for a recycling bag.
The 24 by 33, I believe, are the ones that are used inside the small receptacles inside the offices, inside all
Okay.
of our city buildings.
So we had the bid from Unipack, which is $13 for a case of 1,000, is that correct?
That is
That's what we
correct.
took? Yeah, okay. I just wasn't sure because it had 100 case on the units and then 1,000 underneath. So, yeah, that's a great price, too.
Yes.
Okay, you know, I just can't see spending 3 times as much money on something that we could use.
We had 5 responses to this, and everybody bid on every bag, and we pick and choose the ones that are the lowest prices in each category for the city.
Right, but the difference was so huge. And let me tell you, I will say $21 for a 500 case, a 500 case of 3 mil black trash bags is phenomenally cheap. I mean, kudos for getting that kind of a price. But why not use them? All right, anyway, that was my question. And Joe, you let me down. First time ever.
All right, any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, on to item 2.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the general fund budget.
So this item is, last meeting, we had a discussion and an acceptance of a $5,000 gift from Harvey Wiesenberg to be utilized in our senior center, and this is actually placing that money into its proper lines in the budget.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any from the public? Okay, on to item 3.
Item 3 is a resolution, excuse me, a resolution to reschedule the regular council meeting scheduled for November 7th, 2023 to November 8th, 2023.
So when we schedule our meetings, we always schedule our meetings on Tuesdays. This particular meeting is on Election Day, and we won't hold the meeting on Election Day. We'll hold the meeting after Election Day, the Wednesday, the 8th.
All right, any questions from the council? Any from the public? Okay, item 4.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive the off-street parking requirements for premise 138 East Park Avenue. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held October 17th at 7 p.m. Item 5 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive off-street parking requirements for premise 266 East Park Avenue. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held October 17th at 7 p.m. Item 6 is approval of minutes of prior meeting, September 26th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a question.
Sure.
I was not at that meeting, but I reviewed the minutes.
Okay.
And noticed that on page 3, at the top, Mr. Lester made an incorrect statement. He said that in January, the council voted to give 3 contracts. The council actually voted to give 4 contracts.
All right, well,
So I don't know if
I
the
believe
statement
that's
is
what
factually,
that's what he said.
Okay.
It may not be correct.
so it's
but that's what he
incorrect,
said.
but it was,
Right,
That's what he said.
exactly.
okay, thank you.
Second,
second,
voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
That's what I said, yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to abstain. I was not.
It doesn't matter if you were there or not.
I abstain.
Abstain, okay. Vice President Treston.
yes,
President Bendo.
Yes.
And a notation was made in this minute, in these minutes, to reflect
Thank you, Dave.
that issue. Okay, on to the voting. Item 1 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase various size trash bags from the lowest responsible bidders. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will,
Second,
I will.
voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
3 times the price, I can't do it, no.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the general fund budget. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Once again, thank you to Harvey. Yes.
President Bendo.
Same, thank you to Harvey for continuing his mission of making our city better, yes.
Item 3 is a resolution to reschedule the regular council meeting scheduled for November 7th, 2023 to November 8th, 2023. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive the off-street parking requirements for premise 138 East Park Avenue. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Abstain.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive off-street parking requirements for premise 266 East Park Avenue. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Abstain.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
City Manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay. Whoops. Okay.
Mr. Bendo,
Okay, while Dave is,
can you make an announcement about the Public Service Commission while Dave's getting?
go ahead.
Next one.
I don't have all those. Just wait
Okay.
before the end.
You get,
Yeah. Can,
case, just in
we-
case it's your first time. you
Mr.
get-
Bendo, before we begin, Mr. McNally,
John?
can you just come up and tell about the Public Service Commission meeting on the October 11th, please?
Sure thing. So October 11th, next Wednesday, the Public Service Commission, which is the state body that's overseeing the Article 7 process, which is the onshore electrical transmission line part of the offshore wind, Equinor's Empire Wind 2 offshore wind project. The PSC will be holding public information sessions / hearings here at City Hall. 2 separate hearings. The first one will be at 1 o'clock, will be a public information session lasting approximately an hour. First half of it will be the PSC going over what the Article 7 process is. The second half of it will be the applicant reviewing, giving a high-level overview of its project. That will be followed at 2 o'clock by public hearings. So it's the administrative law judge sitting up here, maybe some members of the commission, basically getting public input, what everybody thinks on the project. It's not a back and forth, it's not a Q&A. There will be a Q&A component to the first part, but the second part, which is really just the public hearing, is to take public comments. There is a second one that's going to take place at 5:30 the same day, the public information session, 5:30, the hearing at 6:30. We do have an occupancy of 290 people in this room, so we anticipate this session will be well attended. We will be checking to make sure one in, one out, to make sure that we have, that we're not overflowed or in violation of fire marshal. We're going to ask people not to try to get into the building before 12:30. We don't want a big bum rush of folks, so we're going to have an orderly fashion. But this is, as of right now, the PSC's only opportunity for in-person public information / hearing sessions. So,
Thank you.
sufficient?
Okay, David Shokrian.
Good evening to you. You know, I want to talk about the next Wednesday meeting,
I'm sorry, what is your home address?
You don't have-
350.
You have to give it?
No.
Okay.
You don't have to give it, that's okay.
350 East Penn Street, Long Beach. I want to talk about next Wednesday meeting. And more than any time, as I have said before, we need the help from City Council and Police Commissioner to prevent this meeting to be hijacked by members of the union and the lobbyists for Equinor. You have seen how these members of union behave. They take over the whole auditorium. They intimidate the residents by having same T-shirts, same uniforms. They stand in the aisles, they hover over the residents, and that's not right. I am hoping that all members of City Council would attend that meeting, would reserve the front row for government officials. We should invite our congressman, our legislator, our assemblyman, our state senator to be here with members of City Council to express what they think about this project to this commission. I don't know how many more times we have this opportunity to talk to this judge and to let them know how we feel about this project. I'm hoping that the police commissioner would reserve half of this place for residents only, and the other half could be for unions or whoever they are, so that it's very clear that you know, when people are speaking, whether they are residents of Long Beach and whether they're coming from outside to tell us that this is the most wonderful project that has ever been done. I hope you also invite the mayor of Island Park to speak. And I would say you should also invite the mayor of Atlantic Beach. You know, a few months ago, we were at a meeting at the City Hall in Atlantic Beach, and somehow the gentleman has the understanding that, as he said in that meeting, he said, well, this is Long Beach problem. It's not our problem. If these lines go through Long Beach, the next one would go through Atlantic Beach. The next one is going to go through West End. The next one is going to go through Lido and Point Lookout. They're going to slice Long Beach, this island, all over to get to the other side.
Thank you, sir.
I just one more second I need from you. This is the form we use in construction to pour concrete. Its diameter is 1 foot. This is the diameter of the cables that they're going to put down. We usually talk about wire. We are thinking, you know, it's a 1/4 inch wire. This is the size.
Mr. Joker, maybe we can talk at the tail end of the meeting, because it's going to be short.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
I'm hoping that all members of City Council are going to be there, especially the ladies. When mothers and grandmothers talk, they usually make
Mr.
such a
Joker.
much better impression on the panels. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you
you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Joseph Micchio.
My name is Joseph Micchio, and I was appointed and sworn in with an oath of office by this city to serve on the Long Beach Public Safety Commission. Its job is to make recommendations to the City Council on matters concerning fire and police services. I am a former sergeant and behavioral science instructor in the NYPD Academy and was responsible for educating new police officers on how to properly handle sexual assault victims and witnesses. I was asked to speak tonight on behalf of 2 families whose minor-age girls were victims of serious sexual assaults that occurred here in Long Beach. These families have reported that these cases were mishandled so badly in Long Beach that that the emotional trauma caused was so damaging to the victims that the trauma can never be undone. These are just 2 families that we know of. How many more are there in our community? I have documentations, witness statements, texts, emails. It is not the fault of our detectives, however. When they are asked to do a job they are unprepared for, inadequately trained, and lacking the specialized experience to properly handle these type of cases. Contrary to Commissioner Walsh, on one of these cases, your detectives you talked about who are highly trained were not assigned to this. So what good does that do? As a matter of fact, one in particular happened to walk up to the mother casually a few days after she reported the assaults and said to her, well, your daughter shouldn't have been on the beach drinking. Well, if that's highly trained, I don't know what is. And another detective said to her, the victim, the little girl, said to her, to her face, I used to hang out in Long Beach at night drinking with my friends when I was 15. I know what goes on underneath those boardwalks, leaving that little girl curled up in a fetal position all the way for her ride home. If that's training, if that's expertise, they don't have the experience, Ron. They don't have the experience. They're not handling these kind of cases every day, okay? You don't have practice, you don't do well. And it's your fault, or should I say the department's fault, for not having a policy. You have the opportunity to correct it. This is about going forward, fixing the problem, not about pointing the finger backwards. The best we can do is let these sexual assault victims know that coming forward was not in vain and will have a positive impact on the residents of this city. So no sexual assault victims in the future will ever have to go through the living hell that they and their families have had to endure. When County Legislator Denise Ford asked Commissioner Walsh at last week's meeting to have Nassau County Police Special Victim Squad handle all our sex crime investigations like every other jurisdiction on Long Island, he claimed that everything was being handled perfectly. Obviously, I wouldn't be up here on behalf of these families if this were the case, nor would Legislator Ford have raised the same issue last week. This city already pays a headquarters tax to Nassau County for the specialized police service that this city is not using. Why wouldn't Long Beach Police Department adopt a policy to assign all sex crime investigative responsibilities to the most highly trained and experienced sex crime investigators that Long Island has to offer? And I'll be done in a moment. If our police commissioner makes this wise and caring policy change now, before more of Long Beach's most vulnerable little girls are sexually assaulted and mostly traumatized beyond repair, I will applaud you, Ron. I will. If not, then I ask you, Roy, Tina, John, Karen, Liz, replace our commissioner with someone who will fix this problem now by bringing in the very best and most experience, Ron. Experience matters. You just can't take a course and all of a sudden you're an expert. Okay? So these types of traumas will never be inflicted again upon this city's most precious and vulnerable little girls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Keene.
No comments? No answers, anybody? Nothing? Well, you had a lot to talk about garbage bags. Okay, I hope, with all due respect, I hope this week that I can hear some progress on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Good evening. I'd like to talk about a vote that took place last week, and it was with respect to providing Commissioner Walsh with the contract going forward. I was bothered by the vote because I don't think it proceeded in a proper way. There were 2 votes of council members in favor, and before providing their vote, they provided reasons, why the city would be well served by continuing Commissioner Walsh in his position. 1 member was absent, obviously didn't vote. 2 other members voted against the resolution. And what troubled me is I don't mind a vote for or against as long as it's reasoned. I think the 2 opposition votes, with all due respect, was not well reasoned. It was based upon what I believe is a false narrative that's been perpetrated in social media about taking a vote 42 days before an election. Now, I'm not aware of any legislative body in this country that has this 42-day rule, where they stop doing the work that they were elected to do 42 days before an election. That's plain nonsense. whether it's 2 days or 102 days, you work until your term is ended. The other false narrative was that it was undemocratic. It was undemocratic because there are people who may vote in an upcoming election, they may vote for the people who are opposing you, and they may vote in a different way on Mr. Walsh's contract. Well, what was undemocratic was the council ignoring the people who did vote. You were all voted to take your positions. You were given a sacred trust by your voters to make decisions, easy ones like trash bags or hard ones like the commissioner's contract, on behalf of the residents of the city. And with all due respect, not all of you did that. And I think you owe it to the voters who voted you and put you in office, not for your term less 42 days or 102 days, but for your term. So I respectfully request that the council vote again on that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you. Denise Ford.
Denise Ford, Ohio Avenue. Last week, I made a statement on something I feel very important about, especially after watching that documentary, Victim Suspect. I had a feeling afterwards that no one on the dais was actually listening to me, especially when I spoke about the last paragraph, which I clearly indicated in that paragraph that if this, that I was concerned that the city did not have, was not sending the cases to SVU, but I had asked if indeed the city did have a specialized unit, please let me know. And that was not answered, until tonight when Commissioner Walsh indicated that. But I want to be clear that I never questioned how the police conducted themselves or called into question any investigations that they do. Just because someone questions on a policy in this city, it does not equate to criticism. Had you listened, the proper response at that time would have been, we have an SVU team who have been well-trained, case closed. I ask that you please stop being so sensitive and taking everything personal. Please learn to listen to your residents. Also understand at times that you may have to take criticism. It happens in the legislature, and believe me, sometimes it can result in a better way of doing things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathleen Sullivan.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you. I have a 16-year-old, and she's very scared walking around this town, which I didn't add to my speech last week, but I say thank you. I'd like to ask you, you only posted on Friday about that torrential downpour. My daughter and I were supposed to go down to North Carolina. Our flight was at 9 p.m. The cabs called me up and said there's no way. But the only thing that we got was on Facebook from you. Stay in place. I did get an emergency alert. My point is that we used to have robocalls. We used to do a lot of things. If I wasn't on Facebook, I wouldn't have seen your note, Mr. Walsh. And my point is now, leading to this, someone speaking about a very crucial thing happening on October 11th, right? There's 30 people here. That's less than 0.01 of this population. Where's the robocalls? Where's the mailings from you? I know Patricia Canzanori Fitzpatrick has done it. I know Ari Brown has done that. There is nothing of a notification, a public notification to our citizens. We need everyone here to make a comment, pro or con. That's the way things are done when a major change is going to change our Long Beach. Can you comment? What will you be doing? Other than an announcement to .001, about 30, for 35,000 people in this, right here. Other than, you didn't post anything on Facebook. It was very, very little. And as Bendo says, he's rarely on Facebook, other than his spies, because I know you know what you're seeing. No, people look for you. You have friends. You have family. So, question. Who will be doing a robocall, letting everyone know to be here on October 11th?
Excuse me. So, first of all, with the rain, it was not only up on our website, not on Facebook. We actually did 3 robocalls. I don't know if you signed up, but you have to go to the website and actually sign up for the robocalls so that you get them. So, the use of robocalls in the city, we don't use them for anything other than emergency notifications. We don't use them to advertise that we're going, we don't use them for political things, we don't use them to advertise things. The only thing they're used for is for emergency notification, which is the type of notification that went out last Friday concerning the rain and concerning the conservative steps we wanted the people in the city to take to help us out, staying home, stay off the streets, watch out for flooding, what our bus routes were going to be, that they were going to be running only until the Long Island Railroad shut down, then our buses would shut down as well as the conservation of water to ease some of the pressure on our wastewater treatment plant. So 3 of those went out, one of them in my voice, 2 of them were robocalls themselves. And I think we actually put one out the next day too, didn't we, John? Yeah, we put one out the next day too, because of it's called supercharging of the wastewater system. So also the meeting that's coming here is not a Long Beach City meeting. It's a meeting of the Public Safety Commission. They asked to use our space. It's not restricted to Long Beach residents. It's concerning the entirety of the project. They asked if they could use our venue. So it's anybody who wants to come in from anywhere and really see that particular hearing.
So then the next, excuse me, sir. So the next question, as the fine gentleman, thank you for speaking and thank you for bringing the props. How are you going to make sure, like, personally, Long Beach is going to be this Barry Island, Point Lookout, who I was born and raised, Lido, Long Beach, and Atlantic Beach. We should get first serve, don't you think? We are the ones that are totally being affected and being.
Captain, you are correct, but that's not our hearing, and we can't do that. And what Mr. Shrokian said, I mean, it would be wonderful if we could put places aside. And you want to know something? I really resent what has happened in the past meetings with people coming from out of town with basically for their own monetary gain and taking our places. And if there was a way to do that.
I was afraid to come to the last meeting because of all the union shirts outside. And I was afraid. And I've been here 53 years. And like I said to you, 3 months ago, that you'll be seeing a lot of me. I'd like you to make sure that residents do get in. Because if we're going to be inundated by these people, I just want to say thank you, and I think that we need to get the word out so that people. I was just sitting with a professor from Nassau County, Nassau Community. He had no idea about the event. People don't know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess I'll just add, sort of along the lines of what Ms. Sullivan was just talking about. In anticipation, based on past history, I actually spoke with the president of Equinor and informed her that it would be severely frowned upon if they tried to flood the room with union people and box out the residents. What they do with that, we'll see, but I did inform them of that.
I take some umbrage with this characterization of union people as a dirty word or negative. This country was built on people that belong to unions, and the mischaracterization, again, is inappropriate and uncalled for. Thank you.
Christina Kramer.
Good evening. I'd like to address your first statement, Ms. McGinnis. My father was a transit worker in Coney Island his entire life. He was a union worker. There is no disrespect on this floor for union workers. What happened at that last meeting was an atrocity. The union members came in, they bullied, they took over, and it was not a misrepresentation. It was an actual representation of what happened. So I'm going to disregard your statement. So the robocalls. We called up Mayor McGinty, and right away, within like 2 minutes, yes, Mrs. Kramer, I'm happy to help you. What would you like us to say on the robocall? And our response was, we'd just like to have a thoughtful conversation, tell everybody about the Article 7 meeting, that the judges will be present. No problem at all. He even went so far to say, as our robocalls will probably overflow into some of the Long Beach residents because of the high schools, and that, you know, there's just some people in Island Park and Long Beach, so we were extremely grateful for that. And I've heard robocalls, Todd Kaminsky, this, that, the other thing, back in the day. I don't know if it's only for emergencies now, but I've been here 20-something years, and I've heard robocalls for things outside of emergencies. That's my personal experience. I know that has happened. So we would appreciate it if we could get a robocall. But if you can't do a robocall because there are some restrictions, it's okay. There's other ways to reach the people. You can send out postcard mailers. The city of Long Beach got intervenor funds. The people in this community did not get intervenor funds. We are spending our own hard-earned money on lawyers, marketing, sending out emails, making pamphlets, doing presentations. We're doing our part. We're asking if you could possibly spend some of that intervenor money that you got instead of on lawyers to put some marketing materials out so that the people of the community can A, get educated, and B, get informed about this crucially important meeting that's going to happen, that's going to impact our community for decades, maybe lifetimes. I'm sorry if my conversation isn't engaging enough for you. So that you can do postcards, you can do mailers, you can do ads in papers. You have those marquee signs telling everybody that Lido Boulevard is going to be closed. Let's put a marquee sign up. That can't cost too much to say, meeting October 11th, 1 p.m., 5:30 p.m. Be there, important residential meeting. There's other ways to do it. We're asking for your help, we're asking for your presence, and we're asking you to speak on behalf of the residents that you represent, to validate our, because we can talk till we're blue in the face, but if they hear our representatives speaking in opposition, it means more to them than just us standing up there. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. John, could this be put in the weekly e-newsletter that goes out announcing the meeting?
It was last week. It will be again.
Okay, because we put, and how many people does that go to?
That goes to, I believe it's 5,000.
Okay, so there's 5,000 people we can get to. Tim Kramer.
Hi, Tim Kramer, 361 East Broadway. First of all, I want to thank the CSEA for getting the sewer main break fixed on Monroe and Broadway so quickly and got things flowing again. So a couple of questions. The new Silverado that we purchased, what is the purpose of that truck, and like what is it being used for? The new Silverado that we got.
It's a police department vehicle.
It's a say it again?
It's a police department vehicle. It's assigned to staff in the police department.
Okay, it's a police vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, and is that truck assigned to someone specifically? Or is it a truck that
No, that truck was
any officer
assigned.
can use
Yeah,
at
that
any
truck
time?
was assigned to the commanding officer of the uniformed force.
Okay, so it was assigned to him specifically?
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
also going to be outfitted to be used for deployment of drones and stuff like that. So yeah,
Okay,
it's been
does
outfitted
this-
specifically for him.
I'm just trying to go quickly, I'm sorry. Does this person take the vehicle home with him?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
He's on a 24-hour call.
So how many vehicles, not just police vehicles, but Long Beach vehicles, would you say that city employees use to take home? How many, roughly speaking?
It's like 15 or 16, something like that.
Through all the departments?
Yeah, it's
15,
there's
16,
not
somewhere in that
many
neighborhood?
take-home- There's not that many take-home calls.
So, this is my personal feeling. Once you're off the clock, you're taking the vehicle home, it's now considered, in my opinion, a personal vehicle. And you should have to pay for that. Why would the city have to pay for that portion of that vehicle being used on a personal level? So, I'm just throwing something out, you know, they should then be responsible for half of what it would cost to lease that vehicle for 36 months. So if it's an $800 payment, for argument's sake, they should be responsible for 4. You got to have skin in the game. You know, to my knowledge, Oprah Winfrey doesn't work for the city, and everybody gets a car. And by doing that, also, you know, not only is there revenue coming back, and you know, because it's being used for personal use, they also would then have the option to use their own personal vehicle to get back and forth to work, right? And then that would, in my mind, reduce our fleet, because then these vehicles could be used by other people while they're working. You know, I guess my overall point is, you know, we as taxpayers, with the cost of inflation, the Haberman, the this, the that, the cost of the heat and cool our homes, insurance, everything's food, everything's gone up, and we got to find ways to reduce our expenses, and to have people take vehicles home and being used for a personal overnight for a personal use I think is a little much. So anyway, getting too on to something else. So we understand that Equinor leased office space at 120 West Park, across from right across the street over here. And my question is real simply, why are they leasing office space when, according to the city council, they're not allowed to do business here and they're not welcomed here? And there's no way this according to you guys, this cable is going to go in through the city. Why would they then be leasing office space on the second and third floor of 120 West Park Avenue?
Because they want to convince us otherwise. That's real simple, you know. But Tim, the last thing you said, why would they, and I missed the last sentence, something about the council, what?
Well, you know, then you guys say that, you know, that they're not going to, you know, you guys are very adamant about not having this cable come through the town and, you know, not necessarily do business here.
Yeah, I mean, we can be as adamant as we want. I wish it were that simple. We're not the decision makers. Those administrative judges on the 11th, they're the decision makers.
Wasn't that what this home rule was all about? You gave up home rule, then you came back, needed this and that. Yeah.
No, we've been very clear now. No cables through the city. We've been very clear, the entire council has been clear about that. And you know what, the problem is, we need everybody, unfortunately I'm not here on the 11th, but we need everybody to come and try to convince these judges, with the right reasons. You know,
we spoke to our, just not interrupt, but we spoke to our group, and we told everybody in our group not to be disrespectful, not to come up here screaming and yelling like a raving lunatic. We're going to be handling ourselves accordingly. I can promise you that.
I think you will, and I've watched your demonstrations, and you're good. You're good. But I think that, you know, there should be, our attorneys are pretty clear on what has to be, what is the decision-making process. And I was kidding around, and, you know, unfortunately, if we had a piping plover nest on Broadway,
right,
probably stop them. People, they don't seem to care about it.
Well, two things. First of all, the piping plovers are going to be extinct because they're going to get caught up in the bird blenders. That's number one. Number two, we may want to consider a larger venue. You know, maybe the rec center, ice rink. I mean, you know, is that, I don't know if that might work against us because
it's not our meeting, though.
Huh?
It's not our meeting.
Yeah, A, it's not our meeting. B, from what we understand, they tried to get Lindell School, the big auditorium, and the school district said no.
Okay, all right.
So one other thing I just wanted to bring up too, about the intervenor funds too. I just wanted to also point out that The interventive funds are actually restricted by the PSC directive that they have to be used in furtherance of the record for things like environmental studies and stuff like that, so we couldn't just take that money and use it for those types of purposes.
And just to be clear, because I'm going to get a phone call first thing in the morning, if not sooner, the school district did not say no.
Yeah.
They needed to be able to discuss it in person, but the PSC needed a decision made before the school was able to come together to make
All right,
that discussion.
stand corrected.
Right.
Thank you. I was told they said no. Okay. Wanda Brooks. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello.
No, not in a while. Evening, Wanda Brooks, Long Beach. 2 questions. I think the first one that probably Patty could answer. We got funds to upgrade Magnolia Park and Leroy Conyers Park. We got a grant, if I'm not mistaken, or funds came for that.
Joe.
Joe?
Yes, we received $1 million from DASNY, the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, for the rehabilitation of Magnolia Boulevard Playground and Leroy Conyers Park, and that project has been successfully completed, and we actually received $1 million back from DASNY reimbursement. So those projects are complete.
So it's finished. We don't
Correct.
have any more funds, spare funds?
Well, no, we do. We're going to be, we have already approved rehabilitation of Pacific Boulevard Playground. And that was awarded to PSL Industries. I think it was about $600,000. And we're also designing Sherman Brown Park right now. We're going to be we're developing preliminary plans right now, and we're going to have something probably in the next couple of months to show the community. We're going to be putting in like a tile basketball court, new lighting, children's playground structure, and some other amenities. But so we have about $500,000 for that as well.
So do you think there's going to be any funds left over because the blue covering on the entrances of Leroy Conyers Park are terrible? They either have to be power washed or, in my opinion, they should have been replaced. And we also have a lot of Spanish families that go to the park, and I feel that we should have a rules of the park in Spanish for them. And also the water fountain hasn't worked for maybe a whole year and a half.
Splash Park? You're talking about the Splash Park?
And Leroy.
In Leroy Conyers? Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but are you talking about the area being dirty by the
two blues
by the
in
barbecue
both
pits, like by the
entrances.
barbecue areas, or
No,
by the
two
entrances?
entrances that you come in.
Okay.
It's a dark blue covering.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Okay, I'll go down.
If possible, it should be replaced. Only my opinion. And
Sure.
the water fountain there saying that hasn't worked for quite a long time.
At Leroy Conyers.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at that as well.
And because we have a lot of Spanish-speaking families that go to the park, I think the rules of the park should be in Spanish so they'll understand.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Now, my next one is for the Tyflex valves. I know that all of them are out in the city. Do we plan to get them repaired?
We actually just awarded a bid to J. Anthony Enterprises. It was probably about a month ago to replace approximately, I think, testing my memory, about 10 of Tyflex valves at various locations. But we're not replacing all of them. You know, not some of them are bad, some of them are good. But we're just replacing about 6 to 10 of them. Is there a specific one that you're interested in or
Well,
complaining
I
about?
know the one in North Park doesn't work, correct?
Yeah, well, what we're doing there is, we recently, through the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, we did a lot of work at that intersection. We actually put in a large drainage chamber there, but it was really just to increase the capacity. It's not going to handle the amount of water that was there on Friday, which was catastrophic. It was horrible. I was down there at Riverside and Pine, at Riverside and Park Place / Reverend J.J. Evans Boulevard. We're going to be building the pump station, and it'll be completed by the end of next year. That new stormwater pump station that's being erected at the end of Riverside at the waterfront is going to take care of that problem. It's going to force all that water that you saw there on Friday out into the bay. it will absolutely solve that problem. So that's being worked on. So that's going to be addressed.
So now are we going to have someone to maintain them as they're repaired, those that are repaired
Yes.
and replaced?
Yes.
And what about the drainage, the sewer drainage?
Yes, we have our sanitary sewer maintenance department maintains the storm drain system and the actual tide flex valves. We've been trying really hard to develop a program to maintain the outflow valves as well as the storm sewer system, and they're making good strides. We could do better, but we'll definitely get doing that.
Well, is it possible that the city can hire a separate crew just for maintaining that?
Well, what's going to happen is we're doing the Long Beach Water Pollution Control Consolidation Project. So what's going to happen in 3 years when our water pollution control plant is turned into a pump station, the employees of that department are going to be absorbed into the sewer maintenance department, and their function will no longer be taking care of the sanitary sewer system. They're going to be only taking care of the storm sewer system. So we're going to have a crew 100% dedicated to maintaining the storm sewer system. And the sanitary sewer system will be 100% the responsibility of Nassau County.
Okay.
So it's only going to get better, because we're going to be 100% concentrating on the storm sewer system.
Okay, that's
Okay.
it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Wanda.
Okay, that's it, everyone. Thanks for coming, and hope everyone gets home safe. Have a good night.